Under the scope.
Hey everybody, Jared and Shane here. It's
Hello.
been a while. This is a Scope movie review, summertime edition. We just got out of the latest X-Men film, Jared.
X-Men Apocalypse.
Apocalypse. This is the third movie in the second series of X-Men films, you could say, or the sixth total standard X-Men film. This one brings back, well, pretty much the entire cast of the last two films, I guess? I don't know, or some of the main characters?
Whoever is alive, and they're not always back in full capacity, but they are back in one sense or another, for sure.
For sure. So tell our lovely listeners, Jared, who starred in this film, and then try to explain it.
We'll talk about the new faces.
All right.
Faces, because everyone else, we know, the main people who have been in the last couple films. We've got a new Jean Grey. We've got Sophie Turner. We've got
her.
a new Cyclops, Ty something.
Ty Burrell from...
No, I don't know him from anything else, but yeah. We've got we've got a Nightcrawler played by someone. I didn't get his name either.
We got a Storm.
Doing great so far.
We got a Storm.
Storm played by Alexandra Shipp. She was on before the movie started to tell us she was happy that we were there.
Yeah.
That we came out to support films.
Yes.
Who else? We've got Olivia Munn as Psylocke.
Mm-hmm. Who played Apocalypse, Jared?
We've got star of The Force Awakens, Poe Dameron himself.
Yeah. Oscar?
What's his name? Oscar Isaac.
Oscar Isaacs.
He is the titular Apocalypse.
You just wanted to say titular.
I did.
You've been waiting all week to say that.
So who else is in there? I don't know. There's a bunch of people.
I mean, you've got James McAvoy.
James McAvoy's back.
You've got Michael Fassbender.
Yep.
You've got...
Jennifer, what's her name?
Lawrence.
Jennifer Lawrence, thank you.
Terrible with names.
You've got the guy from Warm Bodies playing Beast.
Oh, yeah, Nicholas Hoult.
There's a million people in this
There's
film.
a lot of characters.
Who played Moira McTaggart?
Oh,
What's her
yeah,
name?
Rose Byrne.
Rose Byrne. We love Rose Byrne. She's funny. She's good. But yet, she's sort of handcuffed in this film. But, so, Jared, we've named the cast of thousands.
Yes. I need a wide-angle lens in this thing.
Basically, give us a quick overview of the plot.
Okay, so starting way back in like 3600 BCE, apparently we have...
What does the E stand for?
It's the Common Era.
Okay.
This is the non-religious version of BC and AD. It's
Okay.
BC and CE. So it's
Gotcha.
before Common Era, and we are living in 2016 CE, Common Era.
Gotcha.
There you go. Anyway, there is a mutant known as En Sabah Nur, who apparently is worshipped by most, but despised by some.
Yes.
And he goes through this process. He's the world's first mutant, by the way. And he likes to go through this process of transferring himself into another body, thereby prolonging his life and also gaining whatever mutant abilities this person has.
It's a mutant body.
So
that
he's been
taking
collecting powers over the years, but apparently some people are not happy with this guy, and so an elaborate plan is hatched to basically destroy his pyramid, burying him alive. Hopefully, well, not. They were hoping to destroy him, but turns out he was just buried for thousands of years until he's rediscovered later in our present day. Well, not our present day, but the 1980s, 1983, 4, 3.
Yeah. Those Egyptians back in the days, Jared, were very good at creating like rock water slides, where you could have giant rocks sliding through the pyramids to crush.
They were the
other pillars.
They were the world's first Imagineers.
Yes, I mean I think this was this is where Wisconsin Dells was inspired, right there.
Right. So
Thank you, Audrey.
we cut forward to our to the 1980s. What even happened? There's so many things that happened in this movie.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. Basically, through a series of events, Apocalypse is reawakened. He comes back and decides that the world has not gone the way he would have liked, and he's going to take it over and destroy the unworthy and rule it in his own image. Pretty much that. So he goes around collecting the best of the best that he can get his hands on when it comes to mutants to form his four horsemen. So we end up with Magneto and Psylocke and the new characters Psylocke and Storm and Angel, who is apparently a cage fighter initially.
Yep.
Which is not really his story, but that's who he is in this movie, and he gets transformed. They all get transformed, their powers enhanced by Apocalypse. And Apocalypse goes about his merry way. Meanwhile, our new band of young mutants have showed up through various circumstances at the Xavier School for the Gifted, where Charles has been teaching.
Correct.
Teaching people how to control their powers.
Yep.
And such, and so forth.
Yeah.
And eventually they're gonna come to loggerheads.
And
right?
we're also forgetting that Mystique is sort of gone rogue, and she is rescuing mutants in bad situations like Angel or Nightcrawler, because those are the two in the cage fighting, to let them live their lives, I guess.
There's quite a bit happening.
Yeah. And then you've got Stryker, the main military guy, pops in at some point, along with the Apocalypse thing. You've got a shoehorned in Wolverine side tale, which sort of comes out of nowhere.
I think it was cool,
but it's
sort of
it absolutely did not need to be there. You've got one of the next new mutants that pops in is Cyclops, he's sort of brought to the school as, you know, the connective tissue.
Wait, what? Cyclops,
yes.
Oh wait, I'm thinking Colossus for some reason.
At the beginning.
Yeah.
So he was they brought him in along with Nightcrawler to sort of introduce the school.
Right.
Just many things going on.
And his brother is back, Alex.
Yep. Who really should be about 30 years old.
He should be, because he was in the 60s movie,
But we don't want to. We
Quicksilver,
certainly wouldn't want to.
Quicksilver's back, of course.
Yeah, we wouldn't want to reboot or anything like that, because because all of this time stuff makes the movie so much easier to understand.
So, obviously, with X-Men comics and movies, there are an awful lot of characters you have to deal with, and so the trick is, can you deal with that number of characters in a way that makes sense, and give everyone enough time that they feel like it's worth having them there. So that's the big question, I think, with this movie.
And I think overall, the answer to that question, did they accomplish that for this film? Is it unapologetic no?
No,
they absolutely did not. I mean, you have some characters that you can connect with, like Magneto and Professor X, because we've seen their spiel for 5 movies, where you understand that where they're coming from.
They have different ideas of how mutant kind should go about living, and different ways of going about it.
Even Mystique, who they have spent many a moon trying to help you understand her, she got the short shrift in this film. Like, she was just a cardboard cutout of what she was in other films.
Yeah.
I mean, there are a couple of interesting set pieces in this film that help the characterization along, like the Quicksilver, redo of his super speed in slow motion.
I think it was a fun scene. I think its placement was weird.
Yeah.
The tone was a weird juxtaposition with what he was doing. I'm very the scene seems very, it kind of sticks out in my mind.
I loved it, but
it was a great scene by itself, but just what it was dealing with and what some of the repercussions of that scene were. It just seems like it's a weird place to throw kind of a humorous scene. And
generally speaking, the characterization of Quicksilver in this film is nothing like any Quicksilver that's ever existed.
No,
he's like a loserish punk.
Yeah,
that's what he is. So it's very strange. One of the things I was talking about after the movie ended was this idea of dealing with these giant threats and having bad guys that are more powerful than gods.
Yeah.
And this film obviously has that, where you're dealing with one of the most powerful mutants ever. And it does not feel like it is grounded in any sort of reality or there are any stakes. It makes it feel like superhero movies of the 90s and 2000s, where, you have, I don't know, you're making a film that shows these characters from comic books, but nothing ever feels like there's any stakes. It just feels old school and not in a good way.
There's an awful lot of destruction, and in the end, there doesn't seem to be any consequences for that destruction.
No.
Even, like, Magneto literally had to have murdered thousands of people in this film, and he just sort of, gets a pass.
He gets off. Yeah, I mean, if you compare this to the Marvel movie universe, it's so different, and it's just something that they've never really been able to lock down, figure out the tone of these films. And then
this want to always sort of kind of reset at the beginning of a film and not just have an established X-Men team that can just deal with a threat the X-Men have to deal with. It just seems like they've always got to go through the machinations of collecting the team and getting them started. Maybe that changes now, given how this one ended. It seems like they're going to have an established team who is trained and is ready to deal with this stuff, but honestly, they threw a bunch of characters who barely knew how to use their abilities into this world-ending situation, and the fact that they managed to pull out a win is shocking to me.
It's bizarre. I think that we can all agree that what should have happened when they did X-Men First Class is it should have been a hard reboot.
Right.
And a lot of the things we were talking about would be ignored. It just wouldn't exist. And you have the ability then to tell a story that is not handcuffed by, 6.5, 7 hours of film that's already happened, that in many aspects were not looked upon positively. So why are you being so beholden to that mythology that's there? Just start over.
Yeah, start small.
Yeah.
Maybe you start with a core group of 5 people, say. Maybe you don't have to have Magneto in the film.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And
I mean, it's hard to say no when you have a Fassbender on contract, but we've seen a lot of Magneto over 6 films, and
yeah,
maybe it's time for Magneto to take a nap.
take a break for a bit. And I think that this film, they doubled
You
down.
gonna solve it on camera there, Audrey?
They doubled down on a lot of the problems of previous X-Men films. And
Yeah.
when you keep digging that hole, all you're going to do is get a deeper hole.
At least we finally have a bald Xavier.
Yeah. And I think one of the things they did rectify was you've got a Cyclops that is a little bit truer to the comic book character.
Not as much of a dick.
Although they did make him a rebel who was like, we have to go to the mall when he just got, which is totally out of character for him.
Come on. Not everything is character motivation in this film.
It's just like, we're going to go to the mall so we can show them in Return of the Jedi.
Right.
And by the way, the other thing, Jared, that, you know me, I love the 80s.
Mhm.
I love period pieces in general, especially modern period. So the 70s, 80s, that sort of thing. The 80s, the 80s.
You're finally getting the sarcasm. I like it.
Yes. The 80s were hardly represented in here. It could have been any time period.
Yeah.
They just didn't happen to show cell phones or computers. But you didn't even need that stuff.
I mean, the attire, the hairstyles, they got those, but
barely,
none of it was intrinsic to the story.
Yeah, they barely got it.
So we've railed on this, a lot of things about the film. Is there anything we liked?
I still stand by. I like the Quicksilver piece. I like some of the characterization. I liked the Jean Grey, Scott Summers dynamic. And sometimes I like Nightcrawler. Sometimes I didn't.
Okay.
I was not a huge fan of the plot, though, I have to be honest. I think Oscar Isaacs did a passable job given a very, very difficult role.
He's slathered under costume
Yep.
and makeup, and you can still tell it's Oscar Isaac.
Yep. But you also could tell that he was slathered under makeup.
Yeah.
I mean, you could see it.
He wasn't as goofy most of the time as I feared
Yep.
he might have been. But there were still
Yep.
some shots where it's like, he's not a tall guy.
No.
And that's part of the problem. When you put him in scenes next to other characters who are taller, and he's supposed to be the big bad, even in lifts, he's not. He's barely coming up to chin height on some of these characters. So it was a little weird there.
And he makes some acting decisions to do a lot of heavy, weird breathing, especially at the beginning. Yeah, it was weird. But I think that's a hard role. I mean, I think that he did a passable job given the weight of it all, I think.
I think there are moments in the movie that work, that feel like X-Men stuff. There's just way some of the characters relate to each other. Some of the action sequences with the powers. I thought the Wolverine Weapon X scene by itself was pretty cool. I liked to see it, but it didn't fit in the film at all. So it probably shouldn't have been there for that reason. But
draw a
it was
parallel between that scene, Jared,
Yeah.
and then the Spider-Man scene in Civil War. Both of those films could have eliminated those things altogether.
Sure.
But it felt more natural in Civil War.
Absolutely.
I won't. I'm not making fun of Spider-Man, Audrey.
It just shows that Marvel Studios has a handle on how to do their characters better than Bryan Singer. And for Bryan Singer, he's not the right guy for these movies. I appreciate his enthusiasm and how much he seems to really, really have himself dedicated to this franchise. But for whatever reason, he just doesn't have a handle on how to do these characters right. He's been inching towards a better version of them, but I think there's still a long way to
And
go.
I don't think that this film is inching towards a better version. I think it's 2 steps forward, 2 steps back in some way.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that it's there, but at the same time, he's not necessarily improving in areas that have been weak in other films.
That's fair.
So we'll see.
At least
we're
we're getting closer
Yeah.
to having costumes that are unique for characters.
They're not just magically finding flight suits, which
Well,
they did, which happened in 2 movies, by the way.
They did do that. Magical flight suits.
Yes.
Are those flight suits better than motorcycle leathers?
That's something we can think about.
Okay.
While we think about that, let's give this movie a score before Jared's arm falls off of his
Breaking.
body.
It's breaking.
The Scope score is 2 stars.
So 2 stars. We're pretty firm in that.
Firm like my arm holding this camera,
So
like a rock.
before Jared starts whimpering on camera, Jared, let's wrap this up.
Yes.
Tell everybody how they can communicate with us
You
if
can
they choose to do
like,
so.
comment, and subscribe down below.
There we go. Just
that.
that easy. So I want to thank Jared. I want to thank Audrey for
Better.
embarrassing me in front of everybody, all 6 viewers. And Jared, thank you again
You're
for
welcome.
seeing this movie. So for all you scopers out there, keep watching. More summer movies coming. Bye for now.
Ladies and gentlemen, we find ourselves once again at the end. I hope you've enjoyed our time together. I know I have. Fear not, Scope faithful. The days shall pass as if they were but a moment. And Jared, Adam, and Shane will return with another thrilling episode. Until then, send your comments to comments@thescopeshow.com or leave a voicemail message by dialing
612-21-SCOPE. That's 612-217-2673.
Thanks for listening, faithful fans. This is Tony Partington saying adios. Tune in next time to another terrific edition of The Scope.